Okay, I'm logged into my Robinhood account on desktop. I'm going to demonstrate how to place an IPO order. So we're on this investing tab and you scroll down into this section where it says discover investments, and there should be a little bubble here called IPO access. If it's not there, click show more and it'll show up. Click on IPO access. I'm recording this on September 3rd and there's been this wave of post Labor Day IPOs and there's 3 available at this moment. I'm going to demonstrate how to do this with Klarna. So when you're here, you have these in-flight IPOs. Those are the ones that you can actually place an order for right now. And there's this launched where you can see the previous IPOs and their performance. And I've participated in a bunch of these: Bullish, Figma, Circle, CoreWeave, ARM. So I've done this several times. In this case, I'm going to invest in Klarna. So just click on that Klarna. So for the Klarna group, Klarna released its S1 filing, its amended S1 with terms, and the initial IPO price is this 35 through 37. The way Robinhood does this is they allow you to request 20% above the top of the range. That's why it says here this max share price is $44.40, because that's 20% above the 37. Now, when the final price is set, which is the night before the IPO date, they'll come up with a final IPO price, and that'll be the price that you actually pay for the deal. This IPO is expected on September 10th, and so it'll price the night before, Tuesday, September 9th. Now, as long as the final price is within 20% of the IPO range, you're not going to have to log in to confirm your order. Now, you can log in and cancel your order if you don't like the pricing. Typically, when pricing's on the high end or above, that's a sign of high demand. And if it's on the low end or below, it's a sign of bad demand and you might want to cancel your order. So over on the order, I have this request to buy Klarna. I have about $5,000 in my account right now, and that's what I can use as buying power. So I'm going to put in 100 shares here. And you can see it calculates the estimated cost, but it does it based on that $44.40 number instead of the 35 to 37 range. Robinhood is unique in doing it this way. So if you want to request 100 shares, in this case, you need $4,440 instead of $3,700. Another option is you can name your price. So instead of using this price range, this 20% give or take, you can name your price. And I'm doing this on the Fermi IPO because I didn't record this into the original recording. So when you name your price, it gives you this max share price, and it says set the price you are willing to pay for one share. So in this case, the deal is priced between $18 and $22 per share. I'm going to set this at 23. And if the final price comes in at $23 per share or below, then it'll automatically place this order. If the IPO price is above $23, the transaction will not go through. This is a way to avoid that 20% buffer and have a more definitive action point on your pricing. And you don't have to stay up late and wait for the pricing to come through in case it prices out of the range. We saw this with Figure. When Figure priced outside of the range, investors had to scramble to log back into their accounts and confirm the order since it was outside of that range. So you can avoid that with this name your price option. Now, if this thing prices at 37, you only pay the $3,700 for those 100 shares if you get allocated that many, and you probably won't. Typically with Robinhood IPOs, I recommend requesting more shares than you actually want because we typically get a fraction of the shares. Robinhood often delivers just one share to people who don't request a lot of shares, or if you've flipped in the past. But the more shares you request, and if you have abided by the flipping policies in the past, you typically can get a fraction of whatever you request. I've been getting somewhere in the range of 10 to 20% of the shares that I request. And many of our club members report the same. If I request 100 shares, I've got enough money to cover that. If I go up to 125, I don't quite have enough to cover that order. So it looks like I can request up to 114 shares with $5,067 of buying power in this count. I'm going to keep it round at 110 and place my order there. Click this review button, and then it shows you how the allocation works. It says here a limited number of shares are available and requests are filled randomly the morning of the company's IPO. So click that about how we allocate shares. We're finding it's not quite random. They're typically filling most of these deals. So if there were 250,000 requests, they're filling all 250,000 requests, but giving one share to a lot of people. So read that FAQ about how we allocate shares. I don't think it's random, but it does say the more shares you request, the more you will get allocated, but you have to have that cash available. Okay, I'm going to hit this don't show again and then start the request. So number of shares, 110, max share price, $44.40, estimated cost, $4,884. I'm making a conditional order to buy at 110 shares of Klarna. From here, I can edit that request or hit confirm. I'm going to confirm it. Up next, random allocation expected 9/10/2025. Allocation outlook. Robinhood may get a small percentage of shares for Klarna's IPO or no shares at all. And that's very true. So these allocations, they vary per deal. It really depends on how many shares Robinhood can get from the underwriters. Some deals have more shares, some deals have less, some deals have more demand, some deals have less. So you don't really know what's happening in the background. It's not transparent at all. And IPO investing and underwriting is very non-transparent. I'm going to click Got It. It shows here that my Klarna IPO buy is queued. There's the details. I can cancel the order right here if I want to. No big deal. They don't seem to give you a lot of trouble if you want to cancel and reorder. There's a little note up here that says they'll notify you once the price changes or if it's finalized and what happens next. So with this IPO being on September 10th, that means the IPO is going to price after the market close on the 9th. Sometimes IPOs price right at the 4 o'clock hour or shortly after the 4 o'clock hour, and sometimes they go long into the evening and you don't know the price until close to bedtime. But regardless, you're not going to get allocated shares until the morning of the IPO. IPOs don't start trading until afternoon usually. So in the morning, if you get allocated shares, you typically get an email from Robinhood. And then when you log into your account, you'll see the transaction. Here's an example from the last IPO. I invested in the bullish IPO on August 13th. I requested 125 shares and I was allocated 22 shares. So that final price came in at 37 and I bought 22 shares at $37 a share. That stock was trading up above 60 for a while and I still hold these shares in this account, but I also received bullish IPO shares in some other accounts. So you can see I requested a lot of shares and I got less than I wanted. If I had requested 250 shares, I think I could assume I might have gotten close to 40 shares in this particular deal. So the more you increase your request amount, the more likely it is you're going to receive a substantial allocation. Just here I had $5,000 available, but I could only request 110 shares. There's a good chance I'm going to get a lot less than 110 shares. And that's okay because I don't really want to invest 110 shares in this deal. I want probably a lot lower than that. So based on these prior deals, I expect to get somewhere in the 20 to 30 range number of shares for the Klarna deal. So that's how you place an IPO order on the Robinhood desktop app.